You see, who is Guru Rinpoche? Who is Guru Rinpoche? He is the embodiment of all. He is all the Buddhas put together. Direct their blessing for this time. He is the all-embodied manifestation of compassion of all. And he is the embodiment and compassion of all Buddhas. So when you realize this, then you say, who Guru Rinpoche is. Guru Rinpoche is, in many ways, the embodiment and compassion of, and the blessing of all the Buddhas. So by invoking him, you invoke all the Buddhas. Do you understand it? And I find that so inspiring. In fact, that is written in the little bit of that is written in the Tibetan Book of Living Land, chapter 9. Guru Rinpoche says, this is Guru Rinpoche's direct word. I am present in front of anyone who has faith in me, just like the moon casts a reflection effortlessly any vessel filled with water. Now then, you see, this is, Khenpo Rinpoche uses this very much. He's always present in front of anyone who has faith. But also Guru Rinpoche says here, I'm never far from those with faith or even for those without it. Though they do not see me, my children will always be protected by my compassion. These children are the follower of these teachings. Generally said with Tibetan people, but actually anybody who follows these teachings, the teaching of Guru Rinpoche, is in fact his children. Is that clear? Very much. I'm present in front of anyone who has faith in me, just as the moon casts a reflection effortlessly any vessel filled with water. But then you see, effortlessly, it's always there. But then, if the water, for example, if the pool or the lake or the whatever, if it's clear, then moon is reflected, isn't it? But if the water is not clear, the moon is still there, but it's not reflected. Sometimes when we feel a little bit far away from the Guru Rinpoche or our master, it's not because his blessing, his compassion has changed, you know. He's gone far away. Sometimes we feel, Guru Rinpoche has gone far away, my teacher's moved away, he doesn't, you know. That's not that. That's unmoving, unchanging, like the sky, like the moon. But it's our mind. When we're a little bit polluted, you know, with our ordinary thoughts, emotions, and our own kind of fears and whatever, and then we see the distance. Is that clear? Like, for example, let's say a child. In a family, for example, you know, family, sometimes the children can say all kinds of things, you know. But sometimes you have a very wise and extraordinarily loving father or mother. The child can go through all kinds of things, you know. But the mother or the is always there. Always there. Do you understand? It's like only you have to open up. And it's there. See, for example, the moon. You see, this is the example. The moon is compared to like a teacher. We are like a muddied water. Water which is a little bit ruffled. When the water is a little bit ruffled, what happened? The moon is not reflected. It's nothing to do with the moon. It's with the water. When the water of our mind a little bit ruffled, the moon of the blessing is not reflected. But then it's like, you see, the moon has never abandoned you. It's only your water is. Now, when the water clears away, the moon is always there. It's always there. That's what really, the love of the Master is always there. Always there. Never ever gives up. That's one way really, particularly in these days, is so important. This is what Khenpo Rinpoche always says. So whenever you feel that, don't think that, because normally we think, oh, our connection with the teacher is not so good, you know. You think it's the teacher kind of, you know, has a little bit moved away from you. No, it's just your mind. So just you purify your mind and you find it's always there. I am present in front of anyone who has faith, just as the moon casts its reflection effortlessly. Any vessel filled with water. But then this is the very one. Whenever I hear this, it gives me goosebumps or goose pimples, which says, see me, Guru Rinpoche says, see me and you see all the Buddhas. Accomplish me and you accomplish all the Buddhas. For I am the gathering of all the Sugatas. It's really very, very amazing. In Tibetan, it's so beautiful, so inspiring. It says, see me and you see all the Buddhas. Accomplish me and you accomplish all Buddhas. For I am the gathering of all the Buddhas. So now you remember this in the Longchen Hundu says, you are the embodiment and compassion blessing all Buddhas. Means this. Is that clear? Is this helpful? Because who's Guru Rinpoche? Guru Rinpoche is for this time. If you look in the story, you see there was when the times became bad, negativity, everything became more gross in the Kali Yuga. And so Buddhas had an emergency meeting. So Buddhas, when they have emergency meeting, they don't have to come into a room. They don't have to also phone lines. They meet without meeting. They met and they looked at Amitabha. Amitabha, because Amitabha is what is called, is the primordial Buddha of the lotus family, because we human beings belong to the lotus family of the Buddhas. And so they said, Amitabha, it is your responsibility because you are the true nature of all human beings. That's why when we die, tradition in the Buddhist countries, Amitabha is you invoke and you transfer your consciousness into Amitabha. And you also pray to be reborn in the heaven of Amitabha. So he said it's Amitabha. Then Amitabha, then you see, he said, Amitabha, it is your job, your responsibility. All the Buddhas gathered together now, and then they put all their blessings into Amitabha. Then Amitabha then directly emanated blessing in the rays of light into the lake of Dhanakosha, and there was then Guru Rinpoche born. A direct manifestation of Amitabha, which in a sense is gathering all the blessing for this time, for this Kali Yuga. Is that clear? And that's why, like for example, all the masters, like my masters, Jampan Khyentse Chujuluri, Dujun Rinpoche, Tingo Khyentse, name it, Patu Rinpoche, Jampan Khyentse Wangpo, all this, and then Dalai Lama, all these masters, they invoke Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche, he is the embodiment, particularly this time, he is the most powerful. You should read this book, this book. Many of them are prayers of Guru Rinpoche, which were really daily prayers, or practices of Jampan Khyentse Chujuluri, Tingo Khyentse, their daily prayer were all these prayers. But at the beginning, it's quite short. There's the life of Guru Rinpoche, very inspiringly written, You read this one, then you'll come to know who Guru Rinpoche is. Is that clear? And he says, this is where, see me and you see all the Buddhas. Accomplish me and you accomplish all the Buddhas. For I am the gathering of all the Sugatas. When a disciple calls on me with devotion and yearning with the song of 7-9 prayer, I shall come from the Sangdokpari, which is the heaven of Guru Rinpoche, like a mother who cannot resist the call of her child. And Guru Rinpoche, when he was asked, who is your father? He says, my father is pure awareness of Rigpa, Samandabhadra. My mother is the space of all things, Samandabhadri. Then what is your line? My line is the indivisible awareness in space. Well, where is your homeland? My homeland is unborn Dharmadhatu. What is your sustenance? My sustenance is consuming dualistic thoughts. What is my destiny? My destiny is to accomplish the action of all the Buddhas of past, present, future. So that's amazing. For me, it's very, very inspiring. And then when you look through the history, there are so many incredible stories of. That's where in the Dzogchen and Padmasambhava, that book, there are stories about Guru Rinpoche. Like there's never been Yoshin Rinpoche, there's never been any Buddha that appears so many times in the vision to a practitioner than Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is kind of extraordinary. And his power, he is really the very powerful very powerful. He is the compassion and you see blessing of all the Buddhas. That for me, he is my refuge. And he is the refuge of all the masters. Dujun Rinpoche, Dinghu Khyentse, all Rinpoche, their refuge. And he is also their nature. They invoked him, and they are also his emanation. So the Guru Rinpoche is for me really the embodiment of all. Is the all-embodied Jew. Refuge is very much Guru Rinpoche. Do you understand? Do you understand? Guru Rinpoche. And particularly, I remember Chandra Rinpoche once said to you, Chandra Rinpoche once said, I think it was in 1987, I think. During that time, after Dujun Rinpoche's body was still there in Dodon, and we had a retreat. And Chandra Rinpoche was, Kyoshi Kempo was with us, Chandra Rinpoche was with us. There, I remember him saying very much, you see, because he felt very strongly that I had because my refuge is Guru Rinpoche, and he really felt once when we chanted the Mandan Guru mantra, his whole perception completely changed. Like this particular place became like heaven of Guru Rinpoche. And he really felt the Guru Rinpoche's presence. And he was saying, he felt very strongly that I had a very strong connection with Guru Rinpoche. And then he said that anybody who comes into contact with me, because of my very strong connection with Guru Rinpoche, anybody who comes in contact with me will be blessed by Guru Rinpoche. He said that. He said it many times. So in some ways it's true, because my connection with Guru Rinpoche is so strong. So because of that through the blessing of Guru Rinpoche, through that blessing of Guru Rinpoche, which is kind of in me, with that when I teach you, you have the blessing of Guru Rinpoche. Then if you invoke Guru Rinpoche, he's more available, he's more powerful. Do you understand? Guru Rinpoche really is really, that's why whenever I do, there's sometimes empowerment, I give only one empowerment, that's Guru Rinpoche. So Guru Rinpoche is very much, so if you invoke Guru Rinpoche, Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all. Like for example, all these teachings, teaching of, all the teachings of Dzogchen, all this. Who is he? He's the embodiment of all this. He's the human incarnation. He's the one embodied. Guru Rinpoche is a bit like that. I never said that way, but I mean, we said that he's the embodiment of all the Buddhas, all the Buddhas put together. So that's why I think it's very important for you, I think really, I tell you, because I'm thinking of let's say what happens, Like Kimberly had an experience once, in the plane. Remember you were talking about how you just, when the plane was going and you think maybe this is it, Then you need to invoke. That time, faith is very helpful. Yeah. The intellectual and all this thing, all this, suppose you're skeptical, doesn't help you. That time, having faith and having trust really helps you. That time, if you can invoke Guru Rinpoche and you find a connection, you have the trust. Because if you really have trust in Guru Rinpoche, know Guru Rinpoche, you can completely trust him in happiness, sorrow. That I know for sure. Whenever I prayed, I never ever lost faith in Guru Rinpoche. Even not ocean question of losing faith. The question of losing faith doesn't even enter in. In Buddhism, there's no crisis of faith, by the way. Only in Christianity. People have crisis of faith, in Buddhism, it doesn't exist. People never say, I prayed to Tara for 10 years, he didn't give me the blessing, I lost my faith. No. Now there's an interesting story, Chögyama Rinpoche tells. It's another son of Tuku again. He saw this, because Hindu practitioners, really, he saw one practitioner in Nepal. He had put his hand up, stood up like this. Because they're Hindu, they're really, my God, they're such tremendous. They put their hand up into the heaven, offer to God. They offer this hand to God. And normally they ask for a special blessing, a special siddhi, special power they request. They offer to God, then this hand is complete, and it's it's like almost like it's dried up or something, I don't know, something happened completely. Then he asked him, did you get any blessings to this one? He said, no. Did you get the blessing from God? He said, no. But have you lost faith? No. So, you need faith here. You really need to have faith. If you have faith, then you will have no fear at the moment of death. Then you see, you need faith. But then I wanted to bring one element, which is it's just kind of an essential practice, like we're doing, like you should be invoking all the Buddhas, this element of invocation. The element of invocation, which, as you know, in the three crucial points, the crucial points of the mind, generating heart of bodhicitta, and then the invocation, the prayer, which includes refuge in bodhicitta. But then I wanted to make it even a simpler one today, is that you see, very simply, like here, for us all, actually Guru Rinpoche is really the universal source of all manifestations of all the great masters in the Tibetan Buddhist lineage, really, particularly in the Vajrayana, particularly in the Dzogchen or the Nyingma Nganju Nyingma tradition. Everyone is manifesting Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is really the center. It's called Danyi Chenpo, the chief of all the mandalas, very much Guru Rinpoche. And he is, as I said before, he is the embodiment of compassion and the blessing of all the Buddhas. It's so inspiring for me when I hear Guru Rinpoche, seeing me you see all the Buddhas, accomplish me you accomplish all the Buddhas, because for I am the embodiment of all Sugatas. So he is the embodiment of all. And that very simple way, Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all Buddhas. By accomplishing Guru Rinpoche, you accomplish all the Buddhas. You understand? That's a simple way. For you, if you cannot handle too many deities, particularly if you're Christian oriented, you know, but then, more, if you're easier with one, then it's, and also some ways I said that the Christ is the manifest. The God, the Father, the Holy Ghost and the Son, the Trinity. Guru Rinpoche is like the manifest, the incarnate, like the Christ also. Roughly if you compare. So that he is the embodiment of all the Buddhas and all the masters, really. And so for you, very much, to consider Guru Rinpoche as the embodiment of all Buddhas, just in book, and there's hundreds of Guru Rinpoches here, the center of this, center of that, everywhere. Sometimes I count how many Guru Rinpoche we have in our tankas, actually hundreds we find them. So Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all the Buddhas and masters. And the thing is, very simply, if you want to know who Guru Rinpoche is, first of all, historically, he is, Buddha himself said, 8 or 12 years after me, one will come who is even greater than myself, who will reveal the highest teaching of the Vajrayana. So in fact, there is this book, this is what you all should read. This is all should read, The Life of Guru Rinpoche. It's very, very inspiring. Because Guru Rinpoche, by the way, historically speaking, you can say he's the emanation of like Guru Rinpoche, Buddha is the embodiment of all the Buddhas. Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all the masters. The Guru Rinpoche embodies the Guru principle as well as the Buddha principle embodied in. And when you talk about Tibetan Buddhism, he's the one who brought Buddhism to Tibet. And the extraordinary thing of Tibetan Buddhism, its vitality, its energy, its teaching, the extraordinary thing about that is Guru Rinpoche. Guru Rinpoche is really the spirit of Tibetan Buddhism. He's the heart, he's the source, he's the father, mother, everything is Guru Rinpoche. You got it? That's all the masters, they invoke him. Dalai Lama, everybody, particularly in crisis, you invoke him. Guru Rinpoche. And he's my refuge. And who is he? It says in the teaching very simply, he is the embodiment of compassion and blessing of all the Buddhas. All the Buddhas' compassion and blessings are embodied in Guru Rinpoche. Like for example, when you have a mobile, you can have just one mobile and you can call everybody. A bit like Guru Rinpoche, through that you can call all the Buddhas. All the Buddhas are connected. Channeled through Guru Rinpoche that way. So Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all. Now, even if you don't know his forms you know a little bit. And then one that we have, which kind of really looks like him, is this one. This is said to be. And then look at this image. It's quite extraordinary. It's an incredible presence. So therefore, when you think of Guru Rinpoche, he is the embodiment and the compassion of all the Buddhas. And then you see, just as Buddha said, whoever thinks of me, I'm in front of them. So moment you think of Guru Rinpoche and invoke him, actually he's there already. You know, he's quicker than your thought. Just invocation away. You understand? Invocation away. I think sometimes it's very important to do that very simple way. Remember who he is. Remember he is the compassionate blessing of all the Buddhas, you know. All the Buddhas, really. He is that. That's why it says, seeing me, you see all the Buddhas. Accomplish me, you accomplish all the Buddhas. Because if you practice Guru Rinpoche, you're practicing all the Buddhas. For I am the embodiment. If you just practice Guru Rinpoche, then you're fine. Really, just practice Guru Rinpoche. Just practice the embodiment of all. And he is Dzogpa Chenpo, Dzogchen. He is Dzogchen. Like when you talk about it, he's the Dzogchen in human form. Really. He's the embodiment, Guru Rinpoche. So just consider him as, he is the embodiment of it, just you invoke. And so in this, really, just kind of, invoke him. Then, you see, when we think of him, Guru Rinpoche, as it says in the teachings, it says, all the Buddhas and wisdom nature one. That is to say, actually, in all the Buddhas and wisdom nature one. So in Guru Rinpoche, is all the Buddhas are there. So when you practice Guru Rinpoche, it's same as practicing Buddha Shakyamuni, same as practicing Tara, Avalokiteshvara, Amitabha, Vajrakilaya, everything is. Guru Rinpoche is the Buddha, Guru Rinpoche is the Dhamma, Guru Rinpoche is the Sangha. Guru Rinpoche is Lama, Guru Rinpoche is Yidam, Guru Rinpoche is Dakini. Also Guru Rinpoche is all the protectors. Also Guru Rinpoche is the embodiment of all refuge. And then most important of all, Guru Rinpoche is one's true nature mind. One's your true Rigpa, when it manifests, as September said, in this wisdom mandala, all that appears and exists is perfectly pure. Not even the name of negativity obstaculized. And my own true nature, my own Rigpa, manifests as Guru Rinpoche. And Guru Rinpoche, when it appears like that, Guru Rinpoche is very, very powerful. Now, very powerful. In his face also. I mean, there's so many expressions to Guru Rinpoche. There's so many qualities of Guru Rinpoche. He has all the qualities, but he has the quality of pacifying. He can be quality of generosity. There's what's called sometimes Vajra, Ratna, Padma, Karma. For Buddha families. He has all that. He is also, his expression on his face is also very much pacifying, as well as also very enriching, as well as magnetizing, as well as subjugating. Yes, and at the same time. And so, whenever you practice, particularly looking at this Luksnami Guru Rinpoche image, like when you look at that, often I say when you just look at Guru Rinpoche, like also this tanka, this one. You remember when you look at this tanka, when you look at the posture, just how he is sitting, it just gives you a feeling, isn't it? Just even where he's sitting, the gaze, like just, the poise, there's such a grace, something very special. When I look at this image of this Guru Rinpoche, something very, and it's, son, the presence. By looking into the face of Guru Rinpoche, first of all, it's not asleep, it's fully awake. It's very fully awake. And very there's a tremendous grace, majesty, it's very peaceful, powerful, magnanimous, understanding. Sometimes all these qualities that you can really actually see in the face. And very inspired, so that when you look at the image of Guru Rinpoche, you don't just merely think as just merely a picture, which is the object of your meditation, of your focus of concentration. You don't just see that, but rather use the image of Guru Rinpoche that is in front of you to see as a to inspire, to remind you of his presence.
hypnotized, you see, and thus transforming the environment of your mind and feel that presence, or rather you can invoke. You can invoke. Like in the Guru Yoga, the first is invocation. That by looking at the image of Guru Rinpoche, you invoke. You understand? You invoke. In some ways, if I were to say, go deeper into the teaching I've given, Guru Rinpoche is very much, is almost, is like, let's say, you have your Rigpa, the nature mind here, and you project that onto the phenomena, screen of phenomena. And what is that picture there? Is Guru Rinpoche. So also, by looking at Guru Rinpoche, it also brings you back to the nature mind. Rigpa Guru Rinpoche. So that it's very much your nature of your mind, which is also the nature of all the Buddhas.
And particularly, this is my special method, where you use the face of Guru Rinpoche. That's why all the tankas of Guru Rinpoche that I commissioned, most important is face. When you look into the face of Guru Rinpoche, immediately it brings you meditation. It captures your mind, bring meditation. That's why when you look at this Guru Rinpoche, just object your practice quietly, if you gaze into this, you see immediately brings your mind home, brings you meditation. Face is to bring the practice. You understand? Simple. Remember you said a simple practice you wanted me to give, so simple practice that. Very much. Face is for meditation. Look into the face. That's why you can simply have a looks like me image Padmasambhava like this. Just look at it, just quiet, and brings meditation. And the eyes, Guru Rinpoche eyes, if you have really some understanding of Dzogchen, it brings you the nature mind. Just when you gaze into his eyes, it actually, all your thoughts, everything stops. Like a past is past, future not yet risen. Even in the present moment, there's a pure awareness, you see, that reveals the pure awareness of nowness very much. You understand? But it's not just a, like that, just kind of something opaque. It's like a luminous. It's like, how do you say? It's unobstructed, limitless awareness of nowness. Not stuck in, not kind of frozen in the nowness, but very fluid. So therefore, his face is for meditation. You got it? Meditation. Or when you think of his being, it brings meditation. His eyes are very much, particularly if you look into this one, is for inspired and nature mind. So sometimes when you do meditation, you just simply, particularly if you don't know how to meditate, just look into this image of, looks like me, and then you know. Or you can have a little larger one, and then you use that, just quietly gaze, very relaxedly you gaze into his eyes. Leave your mind in his being. Leave your mind in his being. Just quietly relax your mind in his being. It becomes the focus, but in a very relaxed way, not fixated on him. You understand? Just quietly, and then your mind relaxes, the mind settles in the Guru Rinpoche. And then when you look at this image, you get just the feeling of Guru Rinpoche, presence of him, which then kind of pervades your being. And then there's a sense of warmth also. And the gaze brings the pure awareness nowness. You understand? That's where really meditation and Dzogchen. Because the thing is, I find really the significance of this Guru Rinpoche is the face of Guru Rinpoche inspires meditation. The peace, the contentment, the serenity, peace of mind. You understand? And settles your mind, brings the experience of meditation. And the gaze of your eyes bring the profound insight of Vipassana, you can call it, or the nature mind, and the Dzogpa Chimpo. Face inspires meditation, the gaze inspires Dzogpa Chimpo, the view of Dzogpa Chimpo, the nature mind, introduce the nature of your mind. And then you also know that since he is the embodiment of all the Buddhas, he becomes what is the all-embodied dual practice. He is in whom all the Buddhas of the past, present, future are embodied, really. So he's the all-embodied of future. As Guru Rinpoche says, seeing me, you see all the Buddhas. I think it's very much thinking of that and seeing, remembering that really inspires faith and devotion. Very much. And in the right hand, this particular posture is kind of, it's called Nangsu Sunne. It's who has control over all the appearance existence. Is the great subjugator, great liberator, the posture of great liberator. He's the great liberator in this time of Kali Yuga. And in the right hand, Guru Rinpoche, the Vajra. Vajra is for protection. As you see that the Vajra is incredible. If you really look into the meaning of Vajra, the Vajra is really 5 spoke on top and 5 spoke below. You represent the 5 spoke top is the 5 Buddha families. And the 5 are the 5 feminine Buddhas, you know. And you can call it is the 5 skandhas when they're purified, or the 5 elements purified also. You can call also the transmutation of your negative emotions. The Vajra is the most powerful symbol in Vajrayana. This symbolizes the indestructible energy of enlightenment, is Vajra. The Vajra is the Guru Rinpoche scepter. That's why in the Rigpa symbol we have the Vajra. Because Vajra is, because it represents Guru Rinpoche. And also the lotus, these two, is symbolizing Guru Rinpoche also. But there are also other meanings also. And in the center of this Vajra, in the Rigpa symbol, is the 3 circles, represent the 3 kayas, which is Dzogchen, essence, nature, and compassion. So the right Vajra is really for protection. You understand? So if I enumerate this little bit, you see that whenever you feel like, you know, we need refuge, we need protection against negativity, we can consider always, you see, Guru Rinpoche's like Vajra is placed on our head and we're protected under his protection. You understand? We consider always protected under his protection. That's why sometimes interesting where Jaman Khensa Wangpo or some of these great they sign someone who is under the protection of Padmasambhava. You know, it's written. It's signed, but someone who is under the protection of Guru Rinpoche, or someone who is specially blessed by Guru Rinpoche. It's a very beautiful in Tibetan. And under the protection, you're protected. Whenever you feel like you need protection, you can consider Guru Rinpoche's hand is on your head. You can think of Guru Rinpoche many sizes. You can think of as big as whole of the space, huge amount you can think of when you want a powerful one. You can think of a tiny little Guru Rinpoche also in your heart. Or you can see Guru Rinpoche in your eyes also. 2 Guru Rinpoches in your eyes, 2 Guru Rinpoches in your ears. Or you can think of Guru Rinpoches everywhere. Or when you say Om Mahom Banzang Gurpe Masidang, hundreds of Guru Rinpoche, you breathe in. You know, the mantra syllables just come, and as it purifies your energy. Anyway, so Guru Rinpoche in his right hand, the Vajra, you know, it's like it's on your head, and then you feel a tremendous, you're protected, you know, under his protection. But then if you go a little bit elaborately, that, you know, whenever we see negativity, obstacles coming, then you come from the Guru Rinpoche's Vajra, you know, you experience, like in the Roh Sanctuary, you consider Guru Rinpoche as like you see the embodiment of all samsara and nirvana. He becomes enormous. Enormous Guru Rinpoche fills the whole space. And you can consider Guru Rinpoche's hand is as huge as I don't know what. Huge. His Vajra is huge. And from the Vajra come sparks of fire, wisdom fire. And they exorcise all negativity and obstacles. But if you want a little bit more. You want more action. Then from each of the fire sparks of Guru Rinpoche's, you know, and there are some very beautiful paintings of Guru Rinpoche, like in the really, like holding the Vajra, like Nangsu Sunne, one who has all the appearance and existence under control. You see, this Nangsu Sunne, like in Tembranyesi, like in this one, a more abrupt one, the subjugate, you know, particularly in this Kali Yuga. And from that, tremendous sparks of fire. If from each spark emanates a Rotha deity, like maybe each spark is like Vajrakilaya. You can call it Vajrapani. Like in terms of healing, particularly for those, I have particular teach this in terms of healing for those people who have very serious, very aggressive cancer or cancer, very powerful cancer that are, then for that, particularly in this day, that some of the deities that are particularly for powerful healing from the Vajrayana point of view, one of the deities is Vajrapani, other one is Garuda, another one is Guru Thakur, and another is Hayagirva. And then if you want also Dorjitroda. These are the really very powerful. And you can consider from each of the spark is, from the spark emanates Hayagirva, Vajrapani. Maybe they come a little bit small, but they become huge if you want also, or small. And they're going to attack and enter into your body, attack all your malignant cells and burn them away. And if you really visualize these and really infuse with the faith and meaning and power, if you do that, there's no saying that what it will do to you. It really can heal you. It all depends upon your faith and on your karma. Faith and karma. Because sometimes we have faith and we practice, but somehow it doesn't purify the symptom because of certain karmic stuckness that we need to do. You understand? So don't blame Guru Rinpoche or this. The Tibetans never do. They never do. They never do. Oh, I practiced Tara for 10 years, I've lost faith. There's no question of losing faith. Yeah. So very much, you see, from that tremendous spark of fire wisdom comes, and from there hundreds of deities of Vajrapani, Hayagirva, Garuda, all eminent, come and attack your malignant cell, destroy it. Or chase away all the negativity, because if you feel you're being attacked by, then all the negativity, the outer obstacles dissolve externally, inner obstacles dissolve internally, secret obstacles dissolve into space. As I said, it's a wonderful prayer of removing obstacle in the practice of what's called Parse Lamser. With your compassion, inspire us with your blessings, with your love, guide us and others along the path. With your realization, grant us cities. With your power, dispel the obstacles facing us all. Outer obstacles, dispel them.